Before alarm clocks, people didn't wake up at 6:30 a.m. They woke up when the sun rose, or when church bells rang, or when someone knocked on their window with a stick. And if you overslept, you could lose your job. This is the story of how the alarm clock reshaped sleep, work, and modern life. The alarm clock feels ordinary, and before your smartphone, it may be one of the most controlling devices ever placed beside your bed. And its invention changed how humanity relates to time itself. I'm Aiden Thomas of Hidden History, and this is a surprising history of the alarm clock. For most of human history, people didn't need alarms. Why? Because work followed daylight. Farmers rose at sunrise. Merchants opened shops when the streets became busy because they usually lived above the store. Artificial lighting was limited. Time was fluid, but that began to change in medieval Europe. Monasteries introduced rigid schedules of prayer. Monks needed to wake at precise hours, even in darkness, so they used water clocks, candle clocks, and early mechanical bells. These were some of the first alarm systems built not for productivity, but for worship. But for most ordinary people, waking up was still natural until the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Factories didn't care about sunrise. They ran on schedules. Workers had to arrive at exact times. Being late meant docked pay, punishment, or in some cases, termination. Cities grew dense and noisy. Natural wake-up cues disappeared. So something strange emerged. Human alarm clocks. In 18th and 19th century Britain and Ireland, there were people called knocker-uppers. Now that might sound funny, but their job was to walk the streets with long sticks, tap on windows to wake workers. Some used pea shooters, others carried lanterns, and they didn't leave until the person responded. Can you imagine paying someone every morning just to wake you up? That's how essential punctuality had become. But this system wasn't scalable. Industry needed something mechanical. The first adjustable mechanical alarm clock was invented in 1847 by Levi Hutchins in America. There was one problem. It could only ring at 4 a.m. Why? Because that's when he needed to wake up for work. It wasn't adjustable. It wasn't commercial. It was a personal necessity. Later models improved this limitation. By the late 1800s, alarm clocks became spring-driven, adjustable, affordable. They began entering middle-class homes, and something subtle happened. People stopped waking up with the sun and started waking up to a noise. By the 20th century, alarm clocks were standard. Then came electric versions. Then came bedside clocks with radios. Then came the snooze button. The snooze button became popular in the mid-1900s. At first, snooze intervals were 9 minutes. Why 9? Because gear limitations in early mechanical clocks. That constraint became tradition. Even digital clocks kept it. Now fast forward to today. Your phone tracks your sleep cycles, wakes you during optimal windows, uses gentle sounds instead of bells. We've moved from bells and monasteries to AI analyzing REM sleep. But here's the deeper story. The alarm clock didn't just wake people up, it synchronized humanity. Trains ran on schedule. Factories ran on schedule. Schools ran on schedule. Time became standardized, not fluid. In 1883, the U.S. railroads created time zones because synchronized clocks were necessary. The alarm clock became a symbol of industrial discipline. It shaped work culture, productivity expectations, sleep patterns, even stress levels. Without it, modern capitalism looked very different. The alarm clock or your smartphone sits quietly beside your bed, but it represents something powerful. The moment humanity stopped following nature and started following the human construct of time. Next time it rings, you're not just waking up, you're participating in a system reshaped over centuries. If you enjoyed this episode of Hidden History on the alarm clock, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Next up, something that's even more fascinating is that before alarm clocks, entire professions existed just to wake people up. And that story is even stranger. Our next episode is the story of the knocker uppers.